The extremely self-centered vampire myth. Why some people can't stop sucking the life out of others. Some people don't want light. They want your energy. And if you don't recognize that fast enough, you'll spend years trying to fix someone who's just feeding on you. Introduction: the vampire that won't leave. Ever had someone in your life who, no matter how much you give, always needs more? You listen to the problems, but they never seem to listen to yours. You build them up, but they don't return the favor. You try to leave, and suddenly they're more charming, more apologetic, more everything, until you're sucked back in. Congratulations, you've met a modern-day vampire. No, they don't sleep in coffins. No, they won't turn into bats and fly away when exposed. But in a way, that would be easier. At least then, you could recognize them before they got their fangs in. These people feed off attention, drama, and validation. But unlike real vampires, they never actually get full. No matter how much energy you pour into them, it's never enough. Why? Because just like in the old legends, they don't generate their own energy. They have to take it from someone else. Let's break this down. 1. Why the extremely self-centered and energy drainers act like vampires. There's a reason the vampire myth aligns so perfectly with extreme self-centeredness and energy-draining personalities. I did an entire podcast episode on this after a friend pointed out the uncanny resemblance, but basically, the classic vampire traits are they can't see the reflection, they fear sunlight, they must be invited in, they must suck blood to survive, and they are immortal but soulless. Modern energy drainers, on the other hand, lack self-awareness, fear real exposure, manipulate their way into your life, drain emotional energy and validation, and never evolve, just repeat patterns forever. These people don't grow, don't reflect, and don't change, because that would require feeding themselves instead of feeding on you. 2. Why some people will never evolve, and why that's your problem if you stick around. Here's a hard truth. Some people never change. Not because they can't, but because they don't want to. Growth takes real effort. They'd rather take shortcuts. Self-awareness requires humility. They'd rather avoid discomfort. True connection means reciprocity. They'd rather just receive. These people recycle the same patterns forever. New jobs, new friends, new relationships, but they're always the same person underneath. They create chaos, drain people, then move on to the next source when their current one burns out. And if you keep trying to fix them, you're not helping. You're just volunteering as their next meal. Worse, even if you think you can handle it, your efforts and the validation you give them might actually keep them from ever changing. 3. The manipulation playbook. How vampires sink their fangs in. Look, energy drainers don't walk around saying, "Hey, I'd love to emotionally exhaust you." That'd be way too obvious. Instead, they use tactics designed to make you think you're the problem, while keeping you hooked. Classic manipulation moves and how to tell the difference. Love bombing, the charm offensive. They flood you with attention, validation, or even gifts to get you emotionally invested fast. It's not about genuine affection, it's about creating a sense of obligation, dependency, or even guilt if you try to pull away. This is far different from someone who is naturally expressive in their affection and excitement early in a relationship. Healthy enthusiasm exists. The key difference? A genuine person won't get angry, guilt trip, or withdraw if you set boundaries or ask to slow things down. The other thing it's different from is love languages, like gift giving or words of affirmation, when they're consistent over time, rather than disappearing once you've been hooked. Triangulation, weaponizing others against you. Bringing other people into conflicts, exes, friends, admirers, not just to keep them around, but to use them as messengers, comparisons, or weapons. This could be as subtle as dropping names to make you feel insecure, or as direct as having someone else pass along messages to avoid accountability. Either way, the goal is the same: to make you feel unstable or competitive. This is different from a person who genuinely seeks outside perspectives on a situation, for example, talking to a therapist or trusted friend, without using those people to try to control or manipulate you. This is also different from someone with a close-knit friend group where exes or mutual acquaintances naturally still exist in their life without, and here's the key difference, being used as emotional pawns. Playing the victim, avoiding responsibility. Every problem they have is someone else's fault, and they need you to understand that. They reframe every past relationship, work struggle, or life hardship as something that happened to them, never because of them. This puts you in a position where you feel responsible for saving them or proving that you're different. This is also far different from a person processing real trauma or difficult life experiences, but still taking responsibility for the choices and actions. It's also different from someone sharing past experiences, not to gain sympathy, but to build emotional intimacy and mutual understanding. What a fucking concept. This is also different than expressing frustration about a current hardship, as long as they are also looking for solutions and taking accountability where it applies. Hot and cold behavior, creating addictive uncertainty. They pull you close, then withdraw, giving just enough attention to keep you hooked, but never enough to make you feel truly secure. This unpredictability triggers a cycle of emotional highs and lows, keeping you addicted to their approval and affection. This is far different from someone with an avoidant attachment style who is struggling with closeness but wants to work through it. If they acknowledge it, communicate about it, and put in effort to build consistency, that's not manipulation, that's growth. This is also different from natural fluctuations in emotional availability due to stress, mental health, or life changes. The key difference? They communicate what's happening instead of using the withdrawal to control you. This is also different from a genuine slow burn relationship where attraction and intimacy build over time rather than being weaponized. Gaslighting, twisting reality to make you doubt yourself. They shift, deny, or manipulate reality just enough that you start questioning your own perception. Over time, this can erode your trust in yourself and make you rely on them to tell you what's real. This is far different from disagreeing on details or remembering something differently. That's normal. Gaslighting isn't just a misunderstanding, it's a pattern of intentionally making you doubt yourself. It's also different from a person who clarifies the perspective while also validating your experiences instead of dismissing them. This is also different from someone who grew up in an environment where they themselves were gaslighted and struggles with direct communication, but is open to working on it. Understanding these differences is crucial because not everything that looks like manipulation is manipulation. Some behaviors stem from unhealed wounds, insecure attachment, or personal growth in progress. But the key distinction? Intent and pattern. Manipulative behaviors are about control. Healthy struggles are about healing. If you recognize patterns in yourself or others, the goal isn't to diagnose, it's to assess. Are they open to self-awareness and change? Is this a pattern that keeps repeating even after discussions? Is this person making you feel confused, unsteady, or unsafe? Now, and again, this is different from feeling uncomfortable because you're being challenged to grow, reflect, or confront your own patterns. Personal growth often brings discomfort, but it should lead to clarity, not deeper self-doubt, emotional instability, or a loss of self-trust. Well, unless you're a true narcissist, and then you're going to probably deal with all of those, as you should. But also, the person pushing for growth, should understand who you are and probably leave. Real harm makes you question your reality. Real growth makes you question your assumptions. If the discomfort comes from facing hard truths about yourself, lean in. Lean in. But if the discomfort comes from feeling manipulated, gaslit, or controlled, trust that instinct. Because real relationships aren't about who holds the most power. They're about who shows up with the most integrity. But in the real manipulative scenarios, by the time you realize what's happening, you're exhausted, second-guessing yourself, and too drained to even fight back. Which is exactly where they want you. 4. The only way to deal with a vampire. Stop feeding them. You can't argue with someone who feeds off attention. You can't fix someone who doesn't want to change. And you can't keep giving energy to someone who only takes. So what do? You cut the cord. What people think works. explaining why they're toxic, making them see their impact, getting closure, and of course, waiting for them to change. What actually works? Disengaging completely, letting them feel your absence, accepting you'll never get closure, and the hardest one, recognizing that they will never change. Here's the part that messes people up. The second you pull away, they'll fight to get you back. Suddenly, they apologize. They admit to some faults, but not the real ones. They make grand gestures. They act like they've finally changed. This isn't transformation. This is survival. They're not growing. They're just trying to keep you in their cycle. If you go back, nothing changes. If you hold the line, you break free. Final takeaway: how to recognize when you're being drained. The easiest way to know if someone is an energy vampire: ask yourself how you always feel after spending time with them. Do you feel lighter or heavier? Do you feel heard or used? Do you feel supported or exhausted? If every interaction leaves you drained, on edge, or questioning yourself, you're not dealing with a normal person. You're dealing with someone who feeds on your energy. And the only way to win that game? Stop playing. Closing thoughts. A vampire will never stop feeding if you keep offering your neck. So here's the question. Is there someone in your life taking everything and giving nothing? And if so, when are you going to stop letting them?